Good morning. Thank you for joining me in this morning mindfulness practice. Do you realize how important it is to relax, to start your day off in a relaxed state of being, to imagine the best that could happen instead of the worst that could happen, to prepare yourself for what you really want instead of putting up your guard and your armor and getting ready to fight all day long. Dr. Maxwell Maltz, who wrote the book Psycho-Cybernetics, talks about we're using our beautiful imagination either constructively or destructively. And the key is to become aware of which way you have been using yours and improving on it daily. If you think about all the things that you imagine that could go wrong, that's a destructive imagination. What if we started to use our beautiful imagination creatively? Creative imagination is not something that's been reserved for poets, philosophers, artists, and inventors. It enters into our every act. Imagination sets the goal picture that our automatic success mechanism works on. We act or fail to act not because of our willpower, but because of our lack of imagination. Human beings always act and feel and perform in accordance with what we imagine to be true about ourselves and our environment. This is actually a basic and fundamental law of our mind, and it is the way we are built. When we see this law of mind graphically and dramatically demonstrated in a person who's been hypnotized, we are prone to think that there's something supernatural or maybe even occult at work here. But actually, we're witnessing the normal operating process of the human brain and nervous system. Have you ever seen a really good hypnotist, a subject who's been hypnotized and told that he's at the North Pole? He's not going to only shiver and appear to be cold, his body will react just as if he were cold, and goosebumps will start to develop on his flesh. The same phenomenon has been demonstrated on wide-awake college students by asking them to imagine that one of their hands is immersed in ice water. Thermometer readings show that the temperature does drop in the hand that's imagining it's in ice water. If you tell a hypnotized person that your finger is a red hot poker, he will not only grimace with pain at your touch, but his cardiovascular and lymphatic systems will react just as if your finger were a red hot poker. And it will actually produce inflammation and maybe even a blister on the skin. When college students, even though they're wide awake, have been told to imagine that a spot on their foreheads is hot, the temperature readings have shown an actual increase in their skin temperature. Your nervous system cannot tell the difference between an imagined experience and a real experience. In either case, it reacts automatically to information that you give it to your forebrain. Your nervous system reacts appropriately to what you think or imagine to be true. Now, if you're in a stressful state of being, your circulation system kind of gets cut off at the limbic brain. Your cerebral spinal fluid is moving from your brain up and down your spine and up back into your brain. But if you're really, really stressed, like thinking there's a saber-toothed tiger around the corner, or you've been living in a state of stress for such a long time, that blood doesn't really go into your forebrain. It kind of stops at your limbic brain, which is your reptilian brain or your fight or flight mechanism. So if you're under stress constantly or in a threatened environment, the only thing you can do is protect yourself. You either get paralyzed and freeze, you can't think of what to do, or your defense mechanisms kick in and you're just ready for a fight. That breaks down your body. That doesn't allow enough brain to allow enough blood and cerebral spinal fluid to flow into your beautiful forebrain, which is your thinking brain, your conscious brain, where you start to make decisions, where you decide what you want. So in order to start to think of something different than fight or flight, rather than being paralyzed or stressed, it is imperative that you relax your body. I'm going to tell you a little bit more about your central nervous system. It reacts to what you think or imagine to be true. If you're worried about that saber-toothed tiger around the corner, all the blood is going to pump to your extremities, to your hands and your feet so that you can run. This has been proven in mice. When they see a cat, their limbic system, all their blood goes to their legs so that they can run. Once they're safely into the little hole in the wall, they go back into a state of homeostasis. They go back into a state of calmness, just looking for food, looking for a place to be comfortable, looking for something to chew on. Well, your brain is the same way. If you're in constant stress, your blood is going to your extremities. It doesn't flow into your brain. You go into the automatic running away from a threat or fighting. And if we're fighting or fleeing, we're paralyzed or doing the same things automatically, running away or preparing for that fight. That's all we can think about. The blood from our cerebral spinal fluid is not going into our forebrain. It's not going into that part of our brain that thinks and creates. Just think about the hypnotized students that I was just talking about. Hypnotic subjects are able to do surprising things only when convinced that the hypnotist's words are true statements. When the hypnotist has guided the subject to the point where he is convinced that the hypnotist's words are true statements, the subject then behaves differently because he thinks differently and he believes differently. The phenomena of hypnosis has always seemed mysterious because it has always been difficult to understand how belief can bring about such unusual behavior. It's always seemed as if there must be something more, some unfathomable power or force at work. The plain truth is, when a hypnotic subject is convinced that he is deaf, he behaves as if he is deaf. When he is convinced that he is insensitive to pain, he can undergo surgery without anesthesia. This proves that this mysterious force or power does not exist. A little reflection will show why it's good for us to feel and act according to what we believe or imagine to be true. The human brain and nervous system are engineered to react automatically and appropriately to the problems and challenges in our environment. For example, a person doesn't have to stop and think that self-survival requires that he start running if he meets a grizzly bear on the trail. Does not need to decide to become afraid. The fear response is both automatic and appropriate. First, it makes him want to run away. The fear then triggers bodily mechanisms that soup up his muscles so he can run faster than he's ever run before. His heartbeat is quickened. Adrenaline, a powerful muscle stimulant, is poured into the bloodstream. All bodily functions that are not necessary to running are shut down. The stomach stops working, and all available blood is sent to the muscles. Breathing is much faster, and the oxygen supply to the muscles is increased substantially. But that also means the blood is being taken away from your forebrain, from your ability to think. You're just reacting. Of course, we know this is nothing new. Most of us learned it in high school. But what we've not been so quick to realize is that the brain and nervous system that react automatically to the environment are the same brain and nervous system that tell us what the environment is. The reactions of the man meeting the bear are commonly thought of as due to emotion rather than to ideas. Yet it was an idea, information received from the outside world and evaluated by the forebrain, that sparked the so-called emotional reactions. It was basically the idea or belief that was the true causative agent rather than the emotion, which came as a result. In short, the man on the trail reacted to what he thought or believed or imagined the environment to be. The messages brought to us from the environment consist of nerve impulses from the various sense organs. These nerve impulses are decoded, interpreted, and evaluated in the brain, and they're made known to us in the form of ideas or mental images. In the final analysis, it is these mental images that we react to. You act and feel not according to what things are really like, but according to the image that your mind holds of what they are like. You have certain mental images of yourself. You have certain mental images of your world. You have certain mental images of the people around you, And you behave as though these images were the truth, the reality, rather than the things they represent. Imagine that the man on the trail had not really met a real bear, but a movie actor dressed up in a bear costume. If the man thought and imagined the actor to be a bear, his emotion and nervous reactions would have been exactly the same. Or let us suppose he met a large, shaggy dog, which his fear-ridden imagination mistook for a bear. Again, he would automatically react to what he believed to be true concerning himself and the environment. It follows that if our ideas and mental images concerning ourselves are distorted or unrealistic, then our reaction to the environment will likewise be inappropriate. So that brings me to something really important. If your imagination, if your automatic reaction to a dog or an actor is the same as automatically reacting to a bear, if your imagination is figuring out what your world is like and realizing that our actions, feelings, and behavior are the result of our own images and beliefs, why not imagine yourself successful? It opens a whole new psychological door to gaining skill, success, and happiness. Mental pictures offer us an opportunity to practice new traits and new attitudes. This is possible because your nervous system cannot tell the difference between an actual experience and one that is vividly imagined. In a controlled experiment, a psychologist proved that mental practice in throwing darts at a target, where the person sits each day in front of a target and imagines throwing darts at it for a specific period each day, it improved the person's aim as much as actually throwing the darts. Basketball players who imagine in their mind, mentally practice thinking basketball free throws every day for 20 days in a row, their score was much improved on the last day just by practicing in their mind. 20 minutes a day. The first group practiced 20 minutes a day in reality, and they improved by 24%. Another group which didn't practice had no improvement, and a third group which practiced in their imagination, just throwing free throws in their imagination for 20 minutes a day, improved their scoring by 23%, only 1% different than the team who actually practiced physically for 20 minutes a day. So how exciting is that? To know that you can relax your body and your mind, and for 15 or 20 minutes a day, practice in your imagination what success looks like for you. What would it mean to be a millionaire? What would it feel like to be healthy? What would it feel like to be at peace, loved, respected, living your life on purpose, doing what you really want to do, spending only 15 or 20 minutes imagining that in your mind every day? See if you could try that for 21 days or a month. See if you can remember to do it more than 2 days in a row, and watch how incredible your body takes over. If you experience reality according to your imagination, which is what I said right at the beginning, creative imagination is not something reserved for poets, philosophers, inventors, and artists. It enters into our every act. For imagination sets the goal picture that our automatic mechanism works on. We act or fail to act not because of willpower, but because of our imagination. And we all use our imaginations either constructively for what we want or destructively imagining everything that could go wrong. The key is becoming aware of which way you're using yours and improving on it daily. Human beings always act and feel and perform in accordance with what we imagine to be true about ourselves and our environment. So just like a person under hypnosis can think that they're freezing to death at the North Pole, you could imagine yourself with the success that you want. Visualize it in your imagination. Start feeling as if that's really true. And in a very short period of time, it becomes true for you because your central nervous system will look for ways to make it true. Your body will start to do actions in alignment with your imagination because as a human being, you want to be in alignment. Your mind, your heart, your actions, your beautiful imagination in alignment with how you feel, and the actions that you start to take first in your imagination and then in reality. This works all the time for every person. You just have to practice it. I can tell you about it all day long. You can read about it all day long. But unless you experience it, nothing changes. The practice is imagining yourself with the success that you want. Realizing that our actions, feelings, and behavior are the result of our own images and beliefs gives us the lever that psychology has always needed for changing personality. Mental pictures offer us an opportunity to practice new traits and attitudes. This is possible because, again, your nervous system cannot tell the difference between an actual experience and one that you vividly imagine. If we picture ourselves performing in a certain manner, it's nearly the same as the actual performance. Mental practice helps to make it perfect. What would you love to take place in your life? You have to practice visualizing it, imagining it. What does it feel like now that it's your reality? What does that beautiful home look like that you picture in your mind? As you drift off to sleep tonight, pretend that you're sleeping in bed, in that bedroom, in that house that you've picked out. It won't take very long before that's your reality. But it takes consistent practice. It takes knowing what you want, getting clear on the picture, feeling as if what it's going to be like to be there. and several times a day visualizing yourself, at least first thing in the morning and before you go to bed. Who are you now that you have that success? Who are you now that the goal has been attained? I help people to practice becoming the person that has the goal that they say they want. It's up to each person to study, to imagine, to practice, to visualize the goal that they want in their life. What does that look like for you? When I spoke earlier about the bear on the trail and the man coming around the corner and expecting, noticing, seeing, getting the picture in his mind that this is a bear, he automatically ran away. He didn't start to think about, is this true? Is this really a bear? No, he ran for his life. If you get so clear on a picture in your mind that it is real to you, so real that when you open your eyes, you're shocked that it's not your reality, you're waking up and you're not in the house of your dreams, it's a disappointment. But as you get into that visualization, so clear in what you want, where you're going, what you're going to be targeting first, what goal do you want to accomplish? It's not $1 million in the bank, it's what you're going to do with the money. What does the trip look like when you're laying on the beach or exploring caves or going through beautiful castles or living in the house of your dreams or taking your whole family on a trip around the world or building a hospital or a food bank or housing for homeless people? See it in your mind. Feel what it's going to be like once it's accomplished, once it is your reality, and your subconscious mind will go looking for the evidence. You will start to get ideas. Act on those ideas. Do something different than what you automatically do every day, and soon you will be living in a totally different world, according to what you imagine and believe to be true for you. Create a wonderful day. Thank you for joining me in this morning mindfulness practice. I'll see you back here tomorrow morning at 7 a.m. Thank you.